Okay, for our next video tutorial, we're going to look at some of the more advanced analytical features that the CropARM tool provides. So we want to click on, or go to the CropARM landing page, click on Get Started. We're going to run the same scenario that we started with, or that we ran with for the first two videos, where we just did a very factorial analysis, a comparison analysis. So we're going to use the demo site from Queensland. That way you can repeat the results you're seeing on the screen here with me. We'll select the soil type as the 240mm vertisoil, so 240mm is a plant of our water holding capacity vertisoil out of our soil option, and we want to grow wheat. Okay, now our original scenario was at 25 kilos of initial soil nitrogen, profile that was 60% full of water with Jans, sown on the 30th of May with 100 plants per metre squared and a sowing nitrogen fertiliser application of 100 kilos per hectare. Select those options and click Add Scenarios and then Submit. Okay, so we can do a number of different comparisons here. We've already looked at the gross margin analysis in the previous videos, but we can start subsetting the results based on numbers of different factors. So if you click on National Droughts, okay, this option enables us to look at results just from a specific drought period or a historical drought here in Australia. So if you want to say, look how our scenario would have performed under the millennium drought conditions, just select that option there and hit Apply. Okay, and now we have two box and whisker plots. We have our original, and then here on our drought one, this is a comparison to how that analysis for that same cropping scenario would have performed under just those years that made up the millennium drought. Okay, we can look at different droughts, so we could say look at even the 1982-83 drought, hit Apply. Okay, the box and whiskers start to get a bit funny when we've got only a very few years in them, so that's why this is only showing up a box. It's actually got the whiskers there, the top whisker you can just see. Okay, but the medians are probably what's really relevant here. Okay, and in this case, actually, the median's even higher. That drought didn't really affect the Darling Downs that much compared to other areas of Australia. Okay, just to get rid of that drought analysis, just click back on drought analysis and then hit Apply, and we'll go back to our original box and whisker plot, single one. Okay, so the national droughts option is okay for looking at historical droughts, but those historical or national droughts are really only relevant at a national level. What about your particular location if you're just interested in those really dry years that you've experienced in the past? Okay, to do that, you go to the selected seasons options. Okay, and we can select different seasonal conditions here based on the water balance ratio. Okay, so if you're really interested in those dry drought years, you're looking at the extremely dry and moderately dry option. If you want to look at, say, really wet years, you're looking at the moderately wet and extremely wet years, and those middle yields are those mildly dry, mildly wet years. Okay, because we're putting this video together with resourcing from the Future Drought Fund, obviously drought's the key focus, so we'll stick with these dry years and hit Apply. Okay, and same thing just as with the national droughts, we get two box and whisker plots now. So one is how our scenario performs overall years, and then we've got another one which is the subset of those particular years for those specific water balance conditions that were specified. If we want to actually look at what years they were, if we go to the bar chart option, and I did say we'd come back and look at these pink areas in the bar chart, and that's what these mean. Okay, so we can look at different, those pink areas highlight when those water balance conditions were met that we specified on the Selected Scenarios tab. Okay, you can note here that really they are our low yielding years. That makes sense. Less water, less yield. Okay, if we want to turn that off, just click back on it and go Clear Selections, and we go back to our box and whisker plot, our one single box and whisker plot. Okay, the final advanced analysis that you might be interested in is the forecasting option. So this is the SOY option. So we use the SOY system as a forecasting methodology in the CropARM tool. It's relatively simple. It's based on the Southern Oscillation Index. To do it, you click on the SOY analysis button. Okay, now and then we've got to select two things. We've got to select the months that we're running this SOY analysis over, and then the phases for the SOI analysis. So we planted this crop in June, sorry, not in June, at the end of May, so maybe we can run our SOI analysis over the months preceding that, so the April, May, so the 2 months before we planted. And then we select what SOI phase we're in. So we can select any one of the 5 standard SOI phases here. So we're in a consistently positive SOI phase, or otherwise as phase 2, we'll select it and hit apply. Okay, and then it now changes the presentation of the results to years that just match that scenario. So now we can look at specific options just for that particular scenario there. Okay, you can apply these advanced analytics here, not just to a single analysis. You can do a multiple analysis like what we did in the second video, and apply these advanced analytics over the top if you so want to as well, to look at those specific scenarios. So that's the advanced analytics in CropARM. There's one more advanced thing I want to show you before we close this video off, and that's what to do if you want to analyse options for a crop which is not in our existing crop list. Okay, so if you go back to our CropARM landing page and select Get Started, again we want to select our demo site for Queensland, just for this case. Okay, we want to select a soil. Again, we'll select the 240mm PAWC soil and select Next. Okay, and we get to our crop selection tab. So instead of selecting crop from the drop-down menus, look at this list here. I don't know, a crop that's a particular or coming in is becoming more interesting, or is receiving greater interest on the Darling Downs of late is pigeon peas, but that's not on our list. So say you wanted to look at pigeon peas as an option for in your cropping program. The way we can do that is using this button up here, which the ATPD, which stands for Adjusted Triangular Production Distribution. Okay, these distributions are statistical distributions that we can create from crop yields. So let's say we are going to look at, say, pigeon peas. Our minimum yield of pigeon peas that we could expect on the Darling Downs might be 0.5 tonne. Enter that in. Our maximum yield that we would expect is maybe 4 tonne. Okay, that'd be a pretty good pigeon pea crop. And our expected yield might sit around 1.5 tonne. Okay, so make sure you specify, you put those numbers in. Okay, pigeon peas are summer crop, so select summer crop. If you're doing this for, say, a winter crop, you select winter crop and give it a description. Pigeon peas, okay, and then hit submit. Okay, and then go submit again. Okay, and what this does performs a lot of smart statistics in the background, comparing the yields of the crops that do exist within CropARM over the summer crops in this case, because it's selected as a summer crop, and align that with the yield distribution we just gave it in terms of the minimum, maximum, and expected yield or middle yield. Okay. Now, there's a few options that are being greyed out here because we can't perform all analyses with these triangular distributions. So we can't look at anything other than dry grain yield, but we can look at different crop or plot types. We also can't do a gross margin analysis with the different grain yield or with these different with these triangular distributions. But you can use this then to compare potentially or to look at the distributions of yields you can expect from a new crop, or even compare back to what yields you have received out of other crops, and you've noted that down in your activity book. So that's just a final advanced analytical feature to enable you to analyse crops that don't currently exist in the CropARM database. As these crops become available within the engine that drives CropARM, which is the apps in crop model, we will be adding them in. So you may very well see pigeon peas in there in the future as an option, but currently we use the triangular distributions as a way of predicting or presenting to you their yield distributions. And that concludes all the features in CropARM.